I can check here. Oh, we're already recording.
All right, we can clip that. But...
Hey everybody, welcome to another conversation over drinks. I'm Coach Wolverine.
Coach Kelowna.
And today we want to talk to you about something that I struggle with anyways, not necessarily Coach Kelowna here as much, but when we need to take a day off or take a day to ourselves, and why it's difficult and why do we feel guilt or shame attachment to it? Why do you think, I guess you don't have a full...
I used to.
You used to? Okay.
So it's not totally that I just don't. So I just want to clarify first, are we talking like formal day off work stuff, or like say we have a standing event or standing social or anything like that, asking to like say to your friends, because it's a totally different dynamic via employment to...
Let's start with employment.
Okay.
So basically, you know, you have the commitment to go to work every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And then that anxiety that you feel asking for a day off, when in hindsight, we shouldn't be. We don't owe the company anything. So why do you think that we feel anxiety when asking for something like that, or feeling like you owe something of yourself, like that you have to be there even though you're feeling a little sick or under the weather, or you just need a freaking mental day?
I mean, like we're given days off for a reason. Like, I don't care who you talk to, like as far as wellness goes, none of us are given enough days off.
No.
Right? And definitely not sick days, but I think the biggest thing is like we always want to please them, mm-hmm. and we do feel like they're kind of in control of like our financial well-being for a lot of people, right?
Right.
And that is for me where a lot of stress would come from, is like if I jeopardize this, I'm jeopardizing my finances, which jeopardizes everything.
So then that could almost be rooted in a scarcity mindset too.
Mm-hmm. So more of a fear of loss than a people-pleasing aspect, right? Like the people that come to the store or come to wherever, if they see you regularly and you're not there one day, they'll come back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And same thing, right? But if you're never there, then what's the difference, right? So it depends on your kind of outlook and your perspective on the matter. I know for me, if I'm in a position that I'm providing a service that is like I would view as like easily replaceable, I would be less likely to skip days, because that's like an intangible that I would build. But if I can separate my skill set and what we offer to our employer, whether it's tangibles or intangibles, if we become not as replaceable, days off become a lot easier for us to like stomach.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm actually providing X amount of value that's beyond what anyone else is going to do. So that's kind of how I would look at it. But I don't know if that's like, I know you said you struggle with this quite a bit. So where do you think it's rooted for yourself?
I know there was one spot, it basically, years ago, it wasn't a scarcity mindset. It was because I'm like, oh man, especially when I was in the oil field, I'm like, if I take a day off, that's $300 today I'm missing out on. And I was like, I can use that money. And then I know as of more recently, it's feeling like I owe something to the employer. Like I am obligated to be there as much as possible, to give myself as much as possible. And I felt that in the clubs. Mm-hmm. Like I felt that all the time. But then I also had a position that was very hard to cover over, right, if I called in sick. And so then there was like that feel or that need that I have to be here, otherwise something's gonna go wrong,
or a job's not gonna get done.
Yeah. And then I gotta come back and then fix it. And when in hindsight, that's no, our job is very plug and play and we can figure it out. It's almost as if a falsified sense of importance.
Okay.
I could say. Like it's almost like it was my ego pumping its own tires. Be like, no, I'm needed. I'm necessary for this to happen. It just isn't going to happen if I'm not here.
Which is funny because that directly contradicts what I said, right? Like if you're providing a big enough service and you ask to take a day off, then you should be confident because you're providing above and beyond what the normal circumstances would be. So that's literally just two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Right.
But like I used to have like negative self-worth issues though too.
So you were putting a lot of your value in your employment.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother thing. And like to touch on the grand scope of like North American and Western culture, we put more weight on the identity of our employment than anywhere else.
Yep.
I've talked to people from Australia, people from all over Europe, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Even certain areas of the States, it's less prevalent. Like what you do is not a direct piece of your identity. And a lot of that is up here. It's because we're so like capitalist, right? It's like we attach value.
People
to
also move
positioning,
here
et
to
cetera.
work.
That's
It's the American dream in the States, anyways, and maybe not necessarily Canada. Freedom up here, apparently, is what we're supposed to have.
easy. No, but I think that's kind of the biggest thing. Like we have this anxiety, but we always have. I get anxiety just asking for like help of any kind,
Mm-hmm.
and like saying like I need a day off because like I need it for my mental.
Mm-hmm.
Does still give me anxiety, right? But just like to tell them, be like, nope, I'm taking this day off. Do they really need to know why? No. But yeah,
That's something that always used to bug me is when employers would ask that, why do you need it off? What does it matter? It's none of your business. It's my
book someone else or I'm not going to be here.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
It's more along the lines of like, I'm not asking, I'm telling you that I'm not going to be here that day because I got other stuff I have to do.
And I look at it too, if you're 99% reliable, then they should have enough faith in you. Or a good employer, right? Like someone who's leading, not managing, quote unquote, would be more likely to be like, okay, cool. Like you're performing well. Typically everything's always okay. You're telling me you need this, I can give it to you because you've been so reliable, etc.
Yeah.
So that's like being a good worker or like doing the things and upping your value again should, with the being in the right circumstances, make it much easier to ask for time off. And if you're in a position where you're like uncomfortable because of the person you're asking, it's probably not a you problem.
Yeah, I've been in that position before too, where I was more nervous to go to this person specifically, more so than the actual question that was being asked, because of the fear or expectation of how they were going to react.
And the style of leadership, we'll use that term, like it's bad, but you don't want to run through fear of anything, right? And that's when you end up with places that have super high turnover and all that stuff. Like even going back to when we learned about that formally in school for business, it's like turnover super high, there's a problem somewhere.
Yeah.
In management or culture, which is top down typically, right? So
yeah.
All that stuff stems from that. And like if we want to loop back to the people pleasing thing, if we're not our best self, which we've talked about, like if we're not in a position where we can provide our best service, we're doing everybody a disservice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we take it back to that concept, right?
Yeah. If we're not showing up there, we're not showing up anywhere.
Yeah. And it's like, hey, if I'm not going there and like I got to take a day for myself, especially the mental health stuff, it's like cool, but mental health day isn't I'm going to sit at home in bed all day. It's like, okay, I'm going to get my 8 hours. I'm going to get outside. I'm going to see some fresh air, talk to some people I care about. Like, do these things that are actually going to help your mental health. Don't just sit on the couch for 10 hours, binge Netflix, and then scroll through
socials,
negative social stuff, and then go to bed. Like, that's not a mental health day.
No.
That's a lazy day.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing.
No.
And just resting, like if all you need is rest, there's no any kind of like day-to-day lack of sleep that's going to need you to sleep for an entire day and do nothing. Go for a walk, go outside, do these things. We've talked about it. We've talked about grounding, we've talked about connecting, we've talked about exercise exponentially. We've talked about that unbelievable amount of time. And like I think one thing when we ask for days off, it's like, well, I skipped out on work, so if I go to the gym, it's going to look bad. Or if I go do this, it's going to look bad. It's like, okay, well, tell your employer, be like, hey, I needed a mental health day. Haven't had a good workout in weeks. Or I haven't been working out. Like, I haven't been active, which if they know anything about anything, that's bad. I haven't been able to talk to my parents. I haven't been able to see my best friend. I haven't been able to hang out with my spouse. Like, any of that. All that stuff's super important to your overall well-being. And it actively takes away from your ability to provide your best service.
Yep.
So that's a mental health day, though. Not just, oh, I'm real tired. I'm real stressed. I'm going to stay home. Why are you getting anything done? Like, are you catching up on the stuff that's making you stressed? So, like, you have to be ticking some boxes. It's not just like a quote, like you said, a mental health day is not just a day of nothing.
Yep.
That'll come. If you want to do a day of nothing, next time you have a day on the weekend, don't book anything for your Saturday and just stay home.
Yep.
Because if you're constantly going out on weekends and taking advantage of your weekends that way, then I would argue that you don't.
Yeah, partaking in alcohol or a beverage or a bottle, whatever, is also not mental health day.
Yeah, and that doesn't help, right?
So how would you, if you say one of your clients was like, hey, like I'm having issues asking for time off because of this, how would you tell your clients to rectify this or explore this part of him?
First thing is find out why. Like, what are these things coming from, right? We'd have to isolate whether it's an anxiety internal, people-pleasing type deal, or is it like a management style thing, like they've had a past issue?
Yeah.
And is it identical to the past issue? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
And then we can kind of break down the differences. Because if their old experience is dictating their new feelings, but it's not the same experience, or it's not the same reason, then I would say, okay, like here's the deal. It's not the same thing. You need to stop worrying about it because it's totally different.
Assumptions through expectations.
Yeah. And you're completely justified in asking for a day off. So go ask for it. And literally the worst thing that happens is they say no. But a good manager, a good employee, and you're not doing this habitually, like you're not asking for days off every week or every other week, will recognize like, okay, cool, they're asking for a day. They need a day. It's not going to kill anything. Here you go.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then it becomes a different problem if they make a big deal about it. Okay, well, I'm not going to be here anyway. And then you get right back to routine, and eventually they forget about it. So
yeah, at the end of the day, is if we need a day off, we need a day off. We are worth it. We do not live a life to serve a master of an employer. It's it is what it is. So yeah, we have to remember that regardless of wherever our rooted fear is, whether it's in scarcity or whether it's in inadequacy or FOMO even, right, is that if we feel like we need a day and it's a legitimate thing, not just I need a lazy day, that we owe that to ourselves.
Yeah. And then if on that side, if you need a lazy day, say no to plans on weekends, take a day for yourself, but don't use it as an excuse to just binge Netflix and do nothing.
Yeah.
That's all. That's it. Like, we can beat this one to death because there's so many different angles you can take it. But ultimately, if you need a day, ask for a day. That's why they're there. If you feel like you need a day all the time, then there's got to be a habitual change or a lifestyle change that has to be made. Or there's health stuff going on, right? Like if you find that you can only go to work 2 weeks at a time and you're absolutely burnt out, that's a whole nother
something
right?
else needs to change.
But that is a lifestyle thing that you have to change, because if this is a job that you're accustomed to doing and it's all of a sudden being way worse, then either something has changed circumstantially or we need to look internally health-wise.
Yeah.
So I would suggest you just kind of take a second and do that. If you're struggling with anything like this, feel free to fire us a message because we'll talk you through it. That's kind of what we're here for, honestly. We just want everyone to feel good about taking care of themselves.
Yeah.
So be it the 5-minute uncomfortable conversation you have to have with your boss about a day off, cool. But if you get back on track, you're good to go. That's it. That's all for me, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good one. It's not a real fancy, sparkly topic, but it's real for just about everybody.
For a lot of people, I've talked to a handful of people actually. They came as an idea and asking them, they're like, yeah, actually, I struggle with that too now that you bring that up. So figures to say, hey, why not on here?
Absolutely. So, that's why we're here.
But that's it. Thanks for everything, everyone, or thanks for listening. Please like, share, subscribe on whatever platform you're consuming this content on. Until next time, that's it.
See you later.
Cheers.